The day I realized I wasn't just rebuilding a ghost town, I was fighting for its soul, was the day Karen and Doug declared themselves rulers of the place I'd pour my blood into. Picture this: 250 homes silent for decades, brought back to life one nail, one plank, one sleepless night at a time. I just started breathing easy when Karen and Doug rolled in, smelling opportunity like vultures, and decided to play government. Not volunteers, not helpers, rulers. They cooked up fake violations, passed around glossy flyers, and suddenly there was a board nobody voted for, new taxes, new rules, new authority over a town I legally owned down to the last crumbling sidewalk. And let me tell you, when I called their bluff, thinking it'd fizzle, they doubled down. Suddenly they're rewriting the charter, talking eminent domain like we're back in gold rush days, trying to override every decision I made. It stopped being annoying and turned into something terrifying. This wasn't just an HOA takeover. This was a hostile coup. They didn't just want my resort, they wanted my whole town. First time I ever saw Desert Willow, it was nothing but dust and regret out past the highway. Every window frame dangled like loose teeth, and the old general store sign was so faded it looked like a ghost itself. Nobody lived there. Nobody even stopped. It was the kind of place you only remembered if your granddad worked the mine that gave it life, and then killed it. I parked my truck by City Hall, if you could call a crumbling brick box City Hall, and just stood there breathing in all that emptiness. No mayor, no police, no taxes, nobody to tell me no. For a guy like me, that was paradise. Name's Mark Hastings, by the way, retired Army, no wife, no kids, just a pension that barely covered rent back in Phoenix. But I figured I could buy myself a new start if I could just find land nobody else wanted. And when I saw the county auctioning off an entire ghost town, 250 lots, ex-mining community, every inch of it up for grabs, I put in a bid. One envelope, one desperate number, and a prayer that nobody else was crazy enough to see what I saw in it. I won. Paid less than you'd pay for a condo in Tempe. Overnight, I owned every residential plot, every business lot, every stretch of gravel. No HOA, no city council, no zoning board, just me and the dirt. My brother called it a tetanus trap. My lawyer? He just laughed. But I had a plan. I saw a place that could come alive again. Maybe not Disneyland, but real. Ghost tours, horseback trails, cabins, maybe even hot springs if I got lucky. I pictured families roasting marshmallows under stars you could actually see, dusty boots on creaky floors. Wouldn't be fast. Wouldn't be easy. But after 22 years in the Army, nothing scared me except wasting my second chance. So I started with what I had, the old hardware store, half its roof caved in. 2 months under a tarp, pulling up floorboards, patching walls, installing solar. Turned the back room into a tool depot and office. Then started cataloging lots, clearing brush, figuring out which buildings could be saved. Sweated through 3 shirts a day, bled more than once, and for a while the only sound was the wind and maybe a hawk overhead. But brick by brick it started coming back. Not just the buildings, but me. By the end of year 2, I had a working general store, a visitor center, a couple cabins with water, Wi-Fi, composting toilets. Hired 2 local vets who needed purpose more than pay. Finished the fence, graded the gravel. Then the world found us. A blogger called it the coolest desert town you've never heard of. Then a YouTuber, then a travel magazine. Next thing I know, folks from LA, Phoenix, New York are booking weekends. They came for the novelty, but they stayed because it was real. The anti-resort. Some folks didn't want to leave. Karen and Doug Vance, organ transplants, you know the type, offered to buy a cabin outright. I said no, but let them lease for a year. Then came retirees, remote workers, families in RVs. Not a flood, but steady. It gave the place soul again, bonfires, movie nights, a community garden in the old church lot. People painting murals, picking guitars in the square. For the first time in decades, Desert Willow had life. And then, then came the meetings. Started innocent enough. Potlucks, beers on the porch, talk about getting Amazon to deliver or whether we needed a bigger water tank. The usual stuff. But then I found a flyer, typed up real nice with a little gavel graphic, taped to the store door. Community Governance Committee, Friday, 7 p.m., Cabin 14. No signature. I asked around. Folks shrugged, just about trail maintenance, rules of the road, that kind of thing. Rules of the road, I thought. I showed up anyway. Cabin 14 was Karen and Doug's place. Doug had agendas typed up like we were at some corporate retreat. Karen had color-coded spreadsheets, quiet hours, garden plot sizes, paint colors, commercial guidelines, all that. I waited until the end and asked the only question that mattered. Who elected this committee and who gave it authority? Doug just smiled. It's not official. Yet, that word rang in my ears all night. You see, after 3 years busting my back out here, a handful of newcomers with zero calluses wanted to write a constitution. And I'll tell you something, control is never given. It's taken quietly at first, then by force. If they wanted what I built, they were going to have to come through me. Next morning, I walked the main strip before the sun got brutal. Everything I'd fixed, the old schoolhouse, now a co-working spot, solar roof, fresh windows. Proof you could restore a place, not remake it into some beige HOA fantasy. I try to keep an open mind. Maybe I was just the old guy resisting change. So ask Greg, retired train conductor. He laughed so hard coffee came out his nose. Came here to get away from HOAs, Mark. Someone tries to tell me what color my shutters can be. I'll be the first one striking matches. Maya, the yoga teacher in the old chapel, said it plain. It's your land, right? No boards, no busybodies. That settled it. So I called a real meeting. Chalk on the scoreboard, word of mouth. 32 people showed. Karen and Doug in the back, arms crossed. I kept it simple. This town is private land. No council, no HOA, no government. That's why we're here. Some want structure, committees, power. I'm not against safety, but we decide together or not at all. Karen stood up, voice sweet as poison. A community has to be shared. It can't be one man's kingdom. I told her, you have a voice. You're using it now. Didn't take long for the counterattack. New flyers, bigger, bolder. Desert Willow Homeowners Association proposed bylaws, dues, guidelines, pet policy, fines. Notices on doors. Lydia's porch furniture, out of alignment. Rob's rain barrels need approval. Suddenly, they're the board handing out warnings. Residents started believing it. That's when I stopped being nice. Call my lawyer. How do I stop a rogue HOA in a private town I own? He whistled. Bold, but unenforceable. Your deeds are airtight, but it's going to get ugly. That night, I sat under a lamp, reading every deed, every map. Hundreds of pages all pointing to one thing. They had zero authority. But law and belief, those are two different animals. I remembered why people came here in the first place. Lydia in her old RV, crying at sunrise, Rob the electrician fixing cabins just because he could, Maya teaching yoga at dawn. No one needed governance. We had cooperation. Then Karen and Doug arrived, stepping out of a shiny Airstream, asking about clubhouses and rules, not history or the work we'd done. I told them, there's only one rule here. Don't mess with anyone else's freedom. Didn't stop them. They turned potlucks into PowerPoint nights, weaponized fear, cornered Lydia about fire codes, spooked residents into thinking fines were coming. One morning, I found a 4-foot sign by the well. Welcome to Desert Willow, a private HOA community. I yanked it out, dropped it on Karen's doorstep like a dead animal. She showed up calm as ice. We're just trying to bring order. Doug tried to play peacemaker. But that was the moment I stopped pretending it was a misunderstanding. I filmed everything I'd restored, drafted a letter to every tenant. There is no HOA, no board, no governing body but the landowner, and you're protected under direct landowner rights. Mailed it out, hand-delivered it. Karen and Doug just doubled down. A week later, flyers everywhere, QR codes to a slick Google site, new committee, new bylaws. They even dropped the word HOA, called it a neighborhood committee. But everyone knew. I showed up to their next vote, cabin 14 packed, projector on a bedsheet, Doug playing CEO, Karen working the crowd. They claimed 72% wanted governance. Passed out anonymous surveys. It was theater, pure and simple. When they opened the floor, I took it. Told them, I built this town, every road, every cabin. This isn't collaboration, It's a coup in disguise. If you think you can vote away my deeds with a Google form, you're mistaken. Karen tried to interrupt. I shut her down. You want to paint your cabin purple? Go ahead. You want goats, wind chimes, a 20-foot rooster? Knock yourself out. That's why you came here. Don't let a color printer turn this into the prison you escaped. Dead silence. That night, someone broke my window, dumped trash, stapled a flyer. Resist the king. Cute. I called the sheriff, called Tessa Chong, land rights lawyer. They're skating the edge, Mark. I was ready for war. Soon after, new notice, Desert Willow HOA official charter. Board officers listed. Fine print. By living here, you agree to all HOA policies. They rewrote every lease in town. I tore it down. Karen stood on her porch, smiling. You're making a mistake, she called. No, I shot back. You just declared war on the wrong veteran. I hand-delivered cease and desist letters, notarized deeds, affidavits from Tessa, warning of lawsuits for slander of title, interference, harassment. They escalated. Fake violation notices. Rob got one for unpermitted string lights, $250 fine. He asked if it was real. It's real paper, that's all. I called an open-air town meeting. Over 50 people came. Tessa zoomed in, walked everyone through Arizona law, how an HOA can't exist without landowner consent, how fines without authority are just fancy extortion. 43 people signed a form rejecting HOA formation. Next morning, I marched to the county clerk, dropped the stack of signatures and deeds on the counter. The county attorney stamped the HOA petition rejected, issued a formal cease and desist. Thought it was over. Wasn't. The next Sunday, Karen and Doug tried to run a shadow election. Yard signs, campaign buttons, ballot box. But I'd flown Tessa in that morning. She stood on the church steps, PA in hand, and served formal legal notice to the whole square. This vote is illegal. Any ballots are fraudulent, and every lease is HOA-free. Then I told the crowd, you want to know what freedom looks like? It's walking away from a lie. Anna, a young mom, stepped up, tore her ballot in half, dropped it in front of Doug's box. One by one, the rest followed. Karen screamed about intimidation, but no one listened. The spell was broken. A week later, I got hit with a lawsuit. Karen and Doug, with a Scottsdale firm, sued me for defamation, interference, wrongful prevention of a legitimate community association. They wanted money, control, an apology. Their complaint claimed I'd created an HOA by inviting residents, and refusing to let them take over was fraud. Tessa laughed so hard she almost cried. They're arguing you committed fraud by refusing to let them commit fraud. We counterfiled, included everything. Deeds, court orders, fake fines, video of Karen threatening tenants. The hearing was packed. Reporters, locals, even a documentary crew. Tessa dropped a 4-inch binder of deeds and county rejections on the judge's desk, showed evidence of fake fines and ballots. The judge, a Marine vet himself, asked Doug and Karen point blank if they'd issued the fake violations. They admitted it. Gavel dropped. Case dismissed with prejudice. Counterclaims to be heard later. Reporters mobbed me outside. Do you feel vindicated? I just smiled and said, I feel like a man who got his town back. The real healing started the day after. The town relaxed. Neighbors brought cookies. Rob fixed things for free. Nobody threw a party. We just started fixing what mattered. I rewrote every lease. Clear, simple. No HOA, no board, no outside authority. Only rule? Don't mess with other people's freedom. Folks who'd been scared came by with apologies, and I forgave everyone. Grudges are too heavy for the desert. Karen and Doug packed up their Airstream and vanished before sunrise. 2 families left, needed rules, I guess. But 3 more moved in for everyone who left. Word spread. Desert Willow was where the law and common sense beat the HOA. We added composting toilets, built a library, strung solar lanterns, set up a community fridge that somehow never ran out of milk. The town doubled in size. I set up a land trust, guaranteed no future HOA or developer could ever take over. The only governing body is the Circle. 8 volunteers, 0 power, just folks talking through problems over coffee. Turns out, when you trust people, Most don't need to be threatened to behave. Desert Willow made headlines. Homesteader magazines, veterans groups, even a state rep came out and pushed new laws, protection against fake HOAs, a Bill of Rights for landowners. We had our bonfire, our quiet celebration under the stars. For the first time in years, I wasn't guarding anything. I was just home. Years pass. Desert Willow keeps growing, not fast but real. Schoolhouse, health clinic, tool library, Saturday farmers market. No taxes, no HOA, no one measuring your grass. The legacy clause in the trust says when I'm gone, every long-term lease becomes a 99-year ground lease at $1 a year. No one can ever sell out, and no future HOA can form without every single resident agreeing. The desert will outlast any power grab. When someone asks, who makes the rules? I point to the circle under the sycamore tree. Those folks have exactly as much power as you give them by showing up and talking. Outsiders don't believe it until they see it work. No fines, no drama, just adults fixing what needs fixing. Sometimes I still find an old campaign button or flyer half buried by the wind, relics from a war nobody wants to fight again. But the scars? They're proof we survived. Built a place where a man can paint his cabin purple, a woman can raise goats, a kid can ride a bike till the stars come out, and nobody gets a letter telling them they're wrong for living. That's not utopia. That's just decency with the handcuffs off. The leases are unbreakable. The land trust is locked, and everyone here has tasted something most people never will. A life where the only person you have to answer to is the one in the mirror. When my time comes, bury me out past the canyon rim. No headstone, just a marker. Mark Hastings. He owned the land and gave it back to the people who loved it. Till then, I'll keep walking the strip every morning, listening to a town that learned how to be free. Desert Willow isn't a resort or a rebellion. It's a promise, made to each other, and to every tired traveler who needs a place to breathe. Here, you're safe. No one's measuring your grass. No one's coming for your joy. No one will ever steal your second chance. Welcome home. So tell me, after all that, where do you stand on freedom? Is real justice just about winning in court, or is it about the right to live your life, paint your door any color you want, and never fear the clipboard brigade again? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear what freedom means to you.